Hi everyone and welcome back to the WARNO May monthly tournament. Today we are watching a game, or two games I should say, of Zoo Animal versus Discordant. In this matchup they're both playing as the 8th Infantry Division, so this will be a mirror match. What I will try and do during this match, because a few people have asked, is talk about the units and what they are good at if I get the chance. I don't want that to take away from me commentating the entire game, so to speak, but I will try and do that since people have been asking if they're new to the game. So straight away we can see that both players sending quite a lot of forces towards the center of the map. Zoo Animal also sending plenty to the top. We see both players have gone for an early Cobra. Neither have anti-air, but we do see that Stingers are coming in at the back there for Zoo Animal. I don't see any Stingers at all for Discordant though. Discordant is however doing an early push into this bottom point with some units, just some LRS teams there in a Humvee. Unfortunately he has lost most of his forces already. That Bradley has got a few kills on some vehicles, but unfortunately that Bradley will not pose too much threat to all of these military police, which will take it out pretty quickly. Up here we do see an Alpha Jet coming in. That was also a chopper going down. I'd imagine that was Discordant's chopper being destroyed by those Stingers that had come in at the back. This Bradley will surely die to these military police. Military police have a recoilless rifle. They are very, very good at taking out vehicles. They don't have a significant amount of penetration, so they're not going to be very good against the front armor of tanks, for example, but they should do plenty of damage to little vehicles like that, which don't have that much armor. HE bomber coming in to finish off those military police, but there are two other squads in that building there, so there's still defense on that point. Lots of reinforcement being called in at the bottom though for Discordant. In the center we see that Discordant is down to just 3 units. He's got 2 squads of Jaeger Aufkel and a Bradley. The Bradley is a very good vehicle as well. It is a fantastic recon vehicle, probably one of the best in the game because of the weapons it also has. Because it has a Bushmaster, which is a very good autocannon, and it has the TOW 2, which is a very accurate, very high penetration missile, very good against various heavy tanks in the game. So that's well worth bringing in if you're playing as the 8th Infantry, or indeed the 3rd Armored Division, as they both get access. Jaeger Aufkel are also very good units. They come as an 11-man squad. Unfortunately, they are simply outnumbered in every sense of the word. We do see here some cannon Jagdpanzers being brought in. These are little tanks effectively. We can zoom in and have a look at them. German in origin, they have a little gun. You will notice it is 13 penetration, the same as the recoilless rifle for the military police. The big difference here is obviously it is attached to a tracked vehicle with a little bit of armor, but a small force of these can be devastating as they will outrange most infantry. You'll notice at the top we see that Zoo Animal is pushing quite far ahead with various amounts of military police, and it has been the last few matches we've watched where the 8th have been played that we have seen more use of the military police again. There was a point at the very start of early access where they had ridiculous firing speed and they were just obscenely good, and then they sort of got nerfed a little bit in the patch and now they appear to be back again. Now, an interesting move here by Discordant. He is bringing in 2 more choppers. I'm not sure that is the best option because he's already lost a chopper to anti-air, and we can see that there are now 2 sets of Stingers there and at least 2 Chaparrals at the back. There is also a Stinger down here. So the reality is these Cobras may be effective against units here if they stay back, but if they try and get over that side of the point, these anti-air units will easily kill them. More reinforcements coming in here to defend. Again, lots of military police. It's weird to see so many of them. They're not the biggest squad. They're only a 5-man squad. So they can't take a lot of damage. Compared to the Jaeger Aufkel, for example, which obviously take a lot more. Though the range on their weapon is a lot shorter. You can see that the recoilless rifle is 1,450 meters compared to the anti-tank here, which is just 705 meters. The other advantage to Jaeger Aufkel is they are actually recon units, the military police are not, which means that they don't get extra sight or extra optics. Interestingly, I will note actually that Jaeger Aufkel are there for Zoo Animal, but he doesn't have a huge amount of recon. He's got some recon there. He's got some recon all the way forward there. I mean, this isn't great for Discordant, I've got to be honest. He has no control here. He was getting an early points advantage, but it's now +3 to Zoo Animal. Discordant possibly planning to do another push at the bottom. That is a lot of troops to just put in a defensive position at the front there. He's also moved his Cobras down here. He's got a tow Cobra as well for hitting vehicles. But there are likely more reinforcements coming in here, including a commander. So that would be +5 points. No command. Oh, there is a infantry command coming in at the other side. I assume that's going to go to the middle for Discordant. But right now, you can see there is this slow push by Zoo Animal. He does have some bigger tanks in now. He does have an M1A1. Obviously, much heavier armor than these little cannon Jagdpanzers, which only have 3 front armor. The M1A1 has 17. And he's also got the CEV in, which has 13 front armor, and this is not an armor-piercing shell, but this has a massive HE shell, so it is exceptionally good at taking out groups of infantry in buildings, or indeed, even better, when they're out in the open field, because they will get hit even harder. Infantry in buildings get a bonus against HE damage. Lovely explosions there. And Discordant is doing a push on the bottom point here. Mech Rifles coming in there. Fighting Falcon there. Going for that Alpha Jet. That's really over-egging the pudding. It's going to go over a lot of air defenses there. He has killed the Alpha Jet though. But he is taking a lot of fire and has also lost the anti-air jet. Down here we see Cobras being used very effectively, as there isn't actually any anti-air here, though Stingers are about to arrive. Once those Stingers arrive, these Cobras will be made mincemeat out of. Jaeger being pushed in at this point here, but they're going to come up against Engineers, Dragon, and Jaeger Aufkel. Well, the Jaeger Aufkel are currently engaged with Discordant's Jaeger Aufkel. Still +2 points to Zoo Animal at the moment. Alpha Jet coming in to assist in killing those choppers, but both those choppers are dead. Now just the infantry to deal with. You do see that there is an M1 Abrams and some cannon Jagdpanzers coming in, which will assist against all of these infantry. Putting down some supporting fire. In the latest patch, it was improved. There is also the Alpha Jet coming in, which will probably drop its bombs on these guys here. Yep, there it goes. A little bit further back, though. Did kill one squad, has heavily damaged the other squad. Realistically, Discordant is in trouble here. HE Bomber coming in for Discordant, though. And another HE Bomber coming in for Zoo. Crisscrossing each other. What on earth? What on earth was that? Nice strike there, but Discordant had actually pulled some of his troops back, but he's still taking a bit of damage. I'm not sure what that was. I think Discordant was trying to bomb reinforcements coming in, but there wasn't anything there at the time. So I'm not sure why he chose to do that. Perhaps he assumed there was stuff parked there. I'm not sure. Discordant managing to keep this commander alive in the middle, surprisingly, considering the amount of stuff that is sort of sat here for Zoo. Zoo could easily be pushing through, though of course he probably doesn't know exactly what is there. And is probably a little bit distracted down here at the bottom. Unfortunately, I think he did push a little bit too far forward there, because he's actually lost 2 of his tanks. I can't see any wrecks back there. Is this them here? Yeah, that is one cannon Jagdpanzer. He's also lost the M1 Abrams. I'm not sure where that is. But this is one thing you have to be careful of in WARNO, is that vehicles can't really get close to infantry with things like Panzer Force or RPGs, because these will do a lot of damage once they get up close, because they have a high penetration value usually. I mean, the Panzerfaust has 14. And if you compare that to the fact that the armor here is only 3, even if you hit it in the front, you're going to do a significant amount of damage. Plenty of reinforcements coming in down at the bottom now for both players. Honestly, I think Discordant is on the back foot here at the end of the day. And I think he's going to struggle to push back. "29 minutes to go of this match. Getting into more of a defensive position at the bottom now. Attacking is always a penalty to some extent in WARNO. If you attack, you are going to lose units. The defending player always has a slight advantage. You've got to sort of soften up the defenses first. Now that's a little bit concerning. The command infantry here are engaging the enemy forces, so they will be visible most likely. So it would be feasible for Zoo to call in a bomber to kill those now, because he knows where they are. Really, if you've got a command like that, you need to keep them at the back of the forest, as far away from the front as possible, while other stuff's engaging. They will actually give a boost to all the other forces there, so if your forces are only veteran in their ranking, it will boost them up to elite, which is quite nice, as long as they're within range. Discordant bringing in another infantry commander at the bottom here. Slightly concerned he's thinking of doing another attempted push in Golf, which would be very risky. Zoo Animal is slowly pushing further forward in the center here. Yeah, Discordant is trying to push infantry again across the road. That is a very risky move. There's a lot defending there now. And there's a lot of supporting fire from that cannon Jagdpanzer. There's various engineer squads. It's not going to be an easy push at all. Cluster bomber coming in for Discordant there. Flying past the middle, taking fire from those chaparrals. Needs to be careful with that. I think he's evac'd it. This is a tough spot for Discordant. Now the risk here is moving units across open ground. They are subject to crossfire from this cannon Jagdpanzer, though at the moment it doesn't appear to be firing. Oh, there we go, it was reloading. These Abrams, very good units, but they're coming up against a TOW 2 which is sat here. TOW 2 will do a significant amount of damage and will kill them if it gets hit. Unlucky for the TOW 2 there. TOW 2 is taking fire from that Abrams and is dead. Now the advantage to TOW 2 is they do outrange the Abrams, but obviously you need to keep them at range. This is well within the Abrams firing range. Tank gun there, 221. Mech rifles taking fire from the Abrams now. Bradley taking shots at this CEV. Will kill it if it gets a side shot. Yep, that's it, dead. Showing what I was saying earlier about the Bradley. Yes, it's just a recon vehicle, but it has all those extra weapons, and the TOW 2 in particular make it a fantastic unit. HE bomber coming in there and dropping. Raven being called in there, which won't do anything versus chaparrals. Cluster bomber coming in. Still hasn't dropped its payload. And unfortunately is dead as it has been hit by chaparrals and stingers. Losing a lot of aircraft in this game, both players. Discordant's push is unfortunately a little bit spread out and piecemeal, and this is one of the things in WARNO. While it's a good distraction to push multiple places at once, the reality is you need to have an overwhelming pushing force in one place to get into anywhere. And Zoo continues to push very slowly across the center here. Is in a good position down here, though does need to be careful with these cannon Jagdpanzers. Does like to get the tanks a little bit too close and personal to the front. There's one dead. It got far too close to those rifles low. Second one is taking a fire from them as well. We'll be lucky to survive. Chopper being taken out there by a chaparral from Discordant this time. Yep, those mech rifles low have taken out both of the Jagdpanzers. Mech rifles are great units. They are infantry squads that have 3 M249s. M249s in the latest update are part of the machine guns, which basically stun lock enemy units now. They're not there for damage, they're there to suppress, and that is exactly what they do. And having a lot of them in an infantry fight can be very beneficial. We can see that Zoo Animal is now doing an aggressive push. That was a HE bomb from Discordant, but it didn't do a huge amount of damage, realistically, to these infantry squads. They will survive and will push forward. And these mech rifles will be in trouble. Zoo needs to be careful with these tanks, though, because if they get too close, they will take a lot of fire from the laws. Engineers not being used very effectively here. So engineers have satchel charges. Satchel charges are only used within a range of 175 meters. You cannot attack move them, as they will attack at their maximum assault rifle range. You need to charge them up close and personal so that they throw their grenades. And if they start throwing these grenades, they will instantly wipe squads of infantry. They are devastatingly good, and they throw them on the move still at the moment. Whether that gets changed in a future patch remains to be seen. But right now, they are devastating. You just need to get them up close and personal to the enemy squads. So that is Zoo Animal in full control of the centre, control of his bottom point. Still reinforcements coming in at the bottom for Discordant. He's got command infantry going into this part of the centre. And I must commend Discordant. He's putting up a good fight here. He is bringing in other commands. An attempt to get these into various points, making a huge difference. He'll probably get both of these commands in the centre here. That's not a bad idea, because it means that they won't be sure exactly where that command is. So they'll see one go in, but then the second one they won't actually see whereabouts it goes. However, that would be if the player doesn't control the entire point. The reality is, because Zoo Animal controls the entire point and has units all the way to this edge, it's very likely that Zoo Animal will see all of these units coming in. I'm also not sure at the moment what the plan is for this M1 Abrams command vehicle. So back to neutralized. Zoo Animal still ahead in points, but obviously not getting any at the moment. That has immediately been attacked by everything. It's not very healthy. It's only got a 4-man squad, as most infantry commanders do. He is retreating it out. He obviously didn't expect quite so much resistance. HE bomber coming in to attack those. Taking fire from the chaparral. Good bomb strike. The commander is still alive, though. Not sure if that HE bomber got out or not. That one certainly did. Cluster bomber coming in now. Veered off. I think he might be using the cluster bomber as anti-air. That's taking a lot of fire from chaparrals there, though. M1 Abrams command doing a good job there. And M1 A1, though it has taken a lot of damage. Probably being hit by that TOW 2 in the side. Lots of units coming in at the top now as well for Discordant. I think Discordant trying various different approaches to try and get in. But I think honestly, as it stands, he's going to really struggle to get into this centre point, especially with more reinforcements being called in for Zoo Animal. It's really hard to say what Discordant could have done at this point. Possibly just spent time calling in as many units as possible at the bottom and then doing a full push at the bottom with huge amounts of units, might have broke through into Gulf. But it's very difficult to say if he could have broken in the middle, possibly the same way, with huge amounts of units and bomber support. Certainly wouldn't be getting in this top end. There is a lot of units there. He is probably the most likely spot, but there are a lot of units building up at the bottom here as well. I can see those mech rifles still hanging around at the bottom there, but Zoo Animal is about to attack them. CEV is engaging them from range as well. The CEV isn't quite in range of the laws, I don't think. No, it's just outside the range, so probably can't be shot at. Whereas the CEV probably should be able to fire its main tank gun. And there's the surrender. That's a surrender from Discordant. Well played, guys. Couple of 1,000 points ahead for kills versus losses for Zoo Animal. Not surprising there. Discordant had a very hard time of it. Zoo Animal just had the positioning from the start. The early support of the anti-air coming in straight away in the form of the Stingers just caused problems for Discordant's chopper. Took it out very quickly. So the lack of that air support then meant that it was easy for Zoo to push across the middle as well. But good game, guys. Well played. Lots of takeaways from that one. Hopefully it was a little bit helpful and I talked about some of the units. I will try and do that in the next game that we'll go into just now. Hi everyone and welcome back to game 2 of this matchup between Zoo Animal and Discordant. Very weirdly, we have a second mirror match of 8th Infantry versus 8th Infantry. I didn't expect both games to go that way, to be honest, so this should be interesting. This time, neither player bringing out choppers early. I do see some mortars out early for Discordant. I'm curious to see what he plans to do with those. Lots of military police again for Zoo Animal. He's bringing in a lot of those. Lots of units down the bottom once more for Discordant, though he has sent the Humvees back early. So I'm not sure what the plan is here. Possibly just get into a defensive position rather than attack this time. In the center, we can see the Bradley getting off some early shots on these vehicles. Does need to be careful though, because that's dropped off a tow too. Good, he has pulled that back. Tow 2 is a 2-man squad. We can zoom into it and just have a wee little look. Deselect it so you can see. They look very funny when they're running around the field with it. These guys can't be put in buildings, unlike Wargame Red Dragon. They have to be put open field or in forests. They are extremely effective, extremely accurate. Their accuracy, if we pop it up, is 70%, and they have 25 penetration. And you can probably bring them in, honestly, as their lowest rank, because if they kill a tank, they'll probably rank up to veteran, and if they kill another tank, there's a good chance they will rank up to elite. They rank up very quickly in the current patch. Whether that changes in the future, I don't know. But not a lot of people notice it because they do tend to die. One thing I will note about the Tow 2 is it looks like it's a 3-man squad because it has 3 health pips, whereas 2-man squad should technically only have 2 health pips. So that might get changed in the future. Mortar's firing now at what is the question? Oh, he's firing at the Tow 2. Supplies coming in to rearm that Tow 2. That's an interesting choice. The mortars honestly don't do that much damage. It's a bit of a waste to use them for that. They're better off at being used for smoke in the current state of the game. Abrams sat in a sort of defensive position here, though, is weirdly looking north rather than at the units here. Discordant doing a very slow push with a Bradley and these LRS here. These guys firing at what I assume was a scouting vehicle, one of the transport vehicles. Command coming in for Zoo Animal now, and a command coming in for Discordant. Oh my word. Discordant is bringing in a lot of mortars. 6 more mortars on top of the 2 that are already in. No, 4 that are already in. I'm very curious, actually, to see if that many mortars will do damage. HE bomber coming in there. I think he might have called in to attack the units that then vanished. Because it looks like it was preparing to drop, but hasn't dropped. Not sure what the plan was there. It's just kind of flying right. Oh, it's coming back for another pass. Must be going to drop on these guys. Yes. Has killed one squad by the looks. No. Both squads survived. It just destroyed the building. Never mind. The bombs dropped in a weird pattern there. Like, one of them dropped earlier than the others. That was quite strange. Cannon Jagdpanzer and a CEV coming in to support there for Zoo. All of these mortars. Really curious to see if they do damage. Certainly didn't seem to phase that TOW 2, which is still there, now fully rearmed. TOW 2's taking shots at these Abrams. Abrams equally taking shots back, but there's one hit. If this is a second hit, that's dead. Very lucky. Look at all this mortar fire. I mean, beautiful. So a direct hit from that mortar did kill the TOW 2. So there's a takeaway. If it gets a direct hit, it probably will kill it. Down here, LRS making not a huge amount of progress, to be honest. Surprisingly, military police doing a reasonable job against them, even though really the LRS should be doing a good job at suppressing. Stingers coming in now for Zoo Animal as well, so you will have some air defense there. Mortars firing on the chaparrals. And on this TOW 2. Cluster bomber coming in there. Striking at the back here. Trying to get that M1A1. It did take a bit of damage. Loads of fire coming in on these chaparrals, but the tiny bit of damage they were taking from those mortars being repaired straight away by that supply. These guys took absolutely no damage from all of those mortars. So unless those mortars get a direct hit right on the head of the unit, I don't think they're doing any damage. Military police against some Jaeger Avkal up there, but no one actually moving anywhere. Down here, Discordant is in the point. This Bradley is in a very bad position. It is right next to a CEV and a Cannon Jagdpanzer. Not sure if the CEV would actually take a shot at it, but the Cannon Jagdpanzer certainly will, and the Cannon Jagdpanzer will kill it. In fact, the military police will probably kill it if it gets a shot off. Yeah, there it is, dead. Recall this rifle on those guys. Still pretty effective against low armored vehicles. Supply truck really needed for Discordant to repair this M1 Abrams. You don't want to lose that. But once again, Zoo Animal pushing a little bit more aggressively this time, even across the center of the map. Discordant still bringing units down the bottom here. Securing this area would be beneficial for him. Mortars continue to do not a huge amount. The problem is often by the time they're fired, units have moved, is one issue. That Abrams is very much almost dead, now down to 1 pip of health. That one is on 4. He really needs to call in something to repair them. At the moment, +5 for Zoo Animal. 1 command in only for Discordant, but really Discordant still on the back foot. I think number of kills in terms of look at the units and forces on the map, obviously strongly in Zoo Animal's favour right now. How much do these mortars cost? 35 isn't a huge amount, but they're just not doing a lot, and I suppose if you have 10 of them, and that's 350 points, that's a decent tank, or a couple of squads of decent infantry. And unfortunately, the mortars just aren't doing a huge amount. Curious to see if they do much to these guys in the buildings. They're just not accurate. They're all over the place. Their blast isn't great. They're not going to be very effective against units in buildings. You get Alpha being called in the bottom here, though lots of defense here. M60 in now as well. Poor discordant. I'm still curious as to why both of these players went for 8 infantry twice in a row. We get mirror matches, but not often twice in a row. Certainly not the same mirror match twice in a row. Loads of engineers coming in at the bottom here, and some high attrition, including a command tank as well, obviously to cap Delta. Abrams dead there. Unfortunately taking a lot of fire from dragons, from TOW 2s, probably from this tank as well. These mech rifles taking a lot of supporting fire from this tank and the cannon Jagdpanzer. Cluster bomber coming in here, probably going for that tank there. Did a lot of damage to it. It is stunned. 1 pip of health left. Has just survived. Mortar's firing again on... Mortar's firing on the M1A1 Abrams. They took a pip of health off it, but will be getting repaired by that supply vehicle and CV and another Abrams coming in there. HE bomber coming in to hit these buildings. That should be a very nice strike. Yes, beautiful. Killed both those squads. Stingers remain. Tanks pushing up, including the CEV. Not a lot of infantry in the bottom at this point now. It could have been the opportunity for Discordant to push in at the bottom, though he is up against quite a few units sat here. More units coming in at the top for Zoo. Still +3 for Zoo. Heading towards a point win, just breached 1,000 points towards that 2,000 target. Command vehicle being brought in the centre here for Discordant. I assume he'll be sending those to the middle. It is a command infantry inner vehicle, sorry. I keep wanting to see how much damage, if any, these mortars are doing. And the reality is not a lot. And they got very lucky on finishing off that one TOW 2 squad that was already damaged by getting a direct hit on top of it. But other than that, there's not a lot. Down here, good push here. Is he pushing his engineers close enough to throw their satchel charges? The problem is he's against a CEV, and the engineers aren't going to damage the CEV. He needs the Heimatsuchen to kill that CEV. Engineers are dying because of the supporting fire, and they are out of satchel charges now. The CEV is dead though, which is good. But once again, I think this game is very likely to go to Zoo Animal. I'm struggling to see at what position Discordant will be able to mount the forces to push back in now. And obviously has sustained significant losses. This is a tough matchup. Zoo has been playing very well in recent games. And I'm afraid I don't know Discordant well enough to comment. I know Discordant played in the first round of this tournament, but I don't think I casted the game. And then they weren't in the second round. So it's difficult to say. But it's interesting to look at these games when you do get a significant difference in the quality of the matchup. Mortars striking these guys down the bottom here. Again, let's see if they do much damage. There's a lot of mortars dropping, and they're doing absolutely nothing to these guys. Oh, those guys lost 2 pips. So they did do a little bit of damage to one of those squads, probably from a direct hit, but not much. Engineers fighting engineers up here. Neither squad of engineers, or none of them, firing or throwing their satchel charges because they're not close enough. More mortars hitting down here. I was going to say that was an almost direct hit, and they have taken a bit of damage. So direct hit will get damage from mortars, otherwise use them for smoke, which is probably the sensible thing to do because their accuracy isn't affected by their distance or anything in this game at the moment, so dispersion isn't a thing. It's just this big and that's how much it spreads. I mean, I've got to give it to Discordant. He is trying very hard to get commands in places and keep the points dripping in slower for Zoo. But I just don't see a way that he can come back from this. And on that basis, I'm going to speed it up a bit. Yeah, as you can see, the actual game time for this is 22 minutes and we're at 17, so there's about 5 minutes to go. It's probably going to be a points win for Zoo Animal in that case, because we'll be hitting that mark about then. Zoo pushing at the bottom now. Command has been brought in for Discordant, but I suspect that will be killed pretty quickly. And down here, there are 2 commands in the center, I think, there, but they're both going to be killed if he moves them out this way. He's pulling one back. One of them died. This will eventually die to these guys here. A few minutes to go. Lots of reinforcements still coming in for Discordant. Still using those mortars. They're just not very effective, I'm afraid. M1 Abrams getting a little bit too close and personal to all of these vehicles and infantry. Discordant bringing in a lot of reinforcements to protect this CV at the minute, but I think the CV that's going to go is probably this one. Aha! Discordant using those mortars for smoke now to block the units seeing into this forest. This is a very good strategy. Though it needs to keep that up because the smoke will gradually dissipate. Oh, lovely bombing strikes there from Alpha Jets. And there's the surrender. Again, over 3,000 points ahead in kills to Zoo Animal there. I do feel Discordant was a little bit outmatched. It's always interesting to watch these games to see how people push and how people learn and adapt their strategy. Commiserations to Discordant there. I think you had a rough time of it. Thank you everyone for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for some more WARNO.